Hey, welcome back to another video. Yeah, I know it's been a while, been doing stuff. This series of videos I'll be doing a setup of my new garage. I'll show you around a bit and show you what I'm doing. Righto, this is my new garage. You'll notice it's a lot smaller than my previous one, and you'll also notice a few things missing. I sold my original mill and original lathe for two reasons. Number one, they were too big. Number two, it was a nightmare to move them around every time I had to move them, so I got rid of them and I downsized to a smaller mill. This one's about 2/3 of the size of the original one I've got. It's a lot easier to move around if I need to, and this hunk of junk is about 2/3 the size of my original lathe. This lathe I bought from Vivor on the recommendation of another YouTuber. He said their tools were good, blah 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 blah. As soon as this arrived, I tested it, had multiple faults with it, so I'm in the process of fixing those faults, and I'm going to mount it on that blue stand over there. These blue stands were the original stands off my lathe, so I can actually still use them. One for the mill, one for the lathe obviously, but with the lathe I need to build a stand to go across as well to bolt the lathe onto. I'm going to be using these two pieces of C-channel, weld them together, and that should be strong enough to hold that piece of rubbish. If it still doesn't work to my satisfaction after I've fixed everything that needs to be fixed, I'll probably end up getting rid of it and going to the same brand as the mill here. The mill I bought from Hare and Forbes, which is, it's Chinese made, but it's German quality control, so quality wise, from what I've seen, I have pulled it apart a little bit and I've checked it. The quality is a lot better than this straight out Chinese garbage. So small modification to that to get my tooling to work on it, because it's all German spec. The fixing rod down the center of the quill to hold my tooling is metric. All my tooling is imperial, so just got to make a slight modification to that and she's good to go. Yeah, with the lathe I've got to fix up the RPM counter because that didn't work. The gear set in the back for the to do threading, that's, I've got to do something about that. It's really noisy, and there's a couple of other things I'm going to do to it. I've already changed the tool post to a quick change tool post. Hopefully that wasn't a waste. If I do have to get another lathe, the one I'm looking at, hopefully that quick change tool post will be able to transfer onto the other lathe. I also bought a welding fixture table, covered in junk at the moment, but I'll be using it shortly, plus all the fixing kit as well, which I will be using to make up the frame for the lathe. So without any further ado, I'll get into cutting those to length and cleaning up the edges and taking off some of the mill scale so I can weld it up. Rightio, I've taken this piece here to work where I put it in the press and straightened it out. It warped a little bit after welding it up. Still has a very minor twist in it. Can't remember which way, but when I go to mount the lathe on this, I'll just use some shimming material under the feet of the lathe to counteract the twist in the base there. I've just welded a couple of pieces on here just so it sits on the base a little bit more even, and just makes it easier when if I ever have to move it, just plonk it straight back on. Plus it's also going to stop any twisting or anything like that while it's all bolted down. But right now I've got to mill down this center part here because it's still a little bit high. Got a straight edge here. This end not so bad, but the further I go up, the more the center part sits proud. So I'll try out the milling portion of the mill and we'll see how we go. I've got the camera clamped to the vise here, so there may be a bit of vibration, but roughly where it's sitting now is the highest point. So I'm just going to go down, touch it off, and then start working my way backwards and forwards, and every now and again check it with the straight edge to make sure it's nice and flat. So here we go. Righto, we'll check it for straightness. This could do with a little bit more. Righto, we'll give that a go. Yep, that looks good. Alright, well, I'll fit it back to the frame, clamp it down, and start marking out the mounting holes for the base onto the frame there. Rightio, I've drilled the holes for the base and the frame. I managed to drill those holes matching these ones with a nifty little tool called a through punch, and basically what it does, put it in the hole, push it down, centers itself, give the little pin a tap, and punches through to the other side. So hopefully these will match. I'll bolt it up now and see how we go. Rightio, bolted the swarf tray onto the frame, onto the base. I've put some fibre washers under the mounting bolts here just to stop any drip through of lubricant or anything like that when I'm using the lathe, because under here is where I'm going to store all my lathe tooling and everything like that, so don't want that getting covered in whatever. So now pick the lathe up and set it in place and bolt it down, level it up. Here we are. I've bolted the lathe down, got it as flat as I possibly can. used a few shims on the feet, which you can't see under that side, but there's some shims on this side, and hopefully I can fix the few things that are wrong with it, namely one of them, the RPM counter doesn't work. I would say it's because the voltage coming out of the controller is only 5 volts DC, whereas the Hall effect sensor, which is here, needs anywhere between 9 to 15 volts DC. So I've ordered a part to step up from 3 volts DC up to 12 volts DC. That should be more than enough to supply voltage to get the RPM counter to work properly. And the other thing I don't like about this is, you'll see in a minute, or not see, you'll hear, it is now switched on. It's quite noisy. Don't know how well that's coming through the microphone, but standing right next to it, it's pretty loud. And that's because behind this cover here is the gear sets to turn the threading screw. Now I'll turn it back on again and show you where all the noise is coming from. Now I've had a look at these gears here. None of them have any roller bearings whatsoever. They're all brass bushes. Because I won't be doing a lot of threading, I'm simply just going to remove this gear here, and that should stop all of that and quieten down all the noise. Rightio, I've just taken out that intermediate gear. We'll see how it sounds now. That's a lot quieter, but still a bit noisy, but I think it's definitely something I can handle over the gear noise. Other thing I noticed is the chuck guard here. Normally on most machines there is a safety switch on this, so if you lift it the machine shuts off, but this, no. And it also interferes on the nuts there that hold the chuck in place. So I'm either going to have to clearance that or just get rid of it altogether. But that'll be it for now. I'll start cleaning up, putting all the lathe tools away, and wait on the DC to DC step up unit, and hopefully I can actually get the RPM counter to work. And I'm going to see how it goes. If I still don't like it, you're probably going to see it up on Facebook Marketplace not long after. Thanks. Rightio, well, I've set up the lathe. I've been playing around with it for quite a while, still finding lots of issues with it. Bolts loose, the carriage here, there was a couple of things loose in there. The screws for the carriageways to take up slack, all those were loose. Covers the swarf guard cover, the screws on that were either stripped, loose, or cross-threaded. Don't know how they managed to do that, but yeah, basically there was still a lot of things I had to fix up and tighten up, even after it was mounted. So a lot of stuff before mounting it. When I received it, found a lot of issues wrong with it, and still finding issues with it. As I said, been having a bit of a play around with it. Plastic, it's pretty good with plastic. Brass, it's pretty good with brass, but come to even mild steel and it struggles. You've really got to crank the speed up to actually get it to start cutting mild steel. I suppose maybe I'm asking a bit too much of it, but you know, just to take the minutest bit off mild steel, it really struggles. So I think once I get the parts for the tacho and get that working, I think I'm just going to cut my losses with this and get rid of it. It's just rubbish. As I said, I bought it from Vivor. It's a cheap Chinese lathe, and you certainly can tell just the build quality was absolutely rubbish. Yeah, this thing was like, must have been built on a Friday afternoon or something like that. There was zero care put into actually putting this together. So hopefully I'll get a few bucks back from it from Facebook Marketplace, sell it to either someone that's, you know, a young kid that's just learning, or someone that just wants to do really soft metals or plastics, whatever. Perfect for that. But yeah, even as I said, even the slightest bit of mild steel, and it can't do it. And one of the reasons why is this carriage here. I notice when I'm actually trying to cut mild steel, it is actually moving, it's flexing. So it just can't cut it properly, and if you try to go too fast crossways, it just jams the motor up, and you got to switch off, sort of move back the cutting tip, and basically start all over again. The going in, it's not too bad, but it does have a chatter. Doesn't matter what speed I set it to. The drive, yeah, it just picks up this chatter, and you just cannot get rid of it. I've tried moving the cutting tool closer to the tool post, tried all the, you know, different things to stop chatter. It's just not working. There's just too much movement in this to actually hold the cutter firmly and stop it from moving around. The other thing is, as I said, I took out the intermediate gear from here to stop the thread screw from turning, and you heard the noise earlier. Still getting a little bit of noise from the belt drive and the motor, but most of the noise is coming from the electronics on the variable speed drive. After a while, it just drives you nuts. It's this high pitched squeal, and it just drives you nuts. So whoever buys it, definitely going to let them know all the issues that I've had with it, what I've fixed, and all the issues that I think are wrong with it still, and let them decide whether they want to buy it. But to be fair, I've was emailing backwards and forwards with Vivor over all the issues. I sent them a huge list initially of what was wrong with it, and they just kept coming back and forwards. Oh, sorry about that. We'll try to fix it. The tacho, they didn't have parts for that in their warehouse, and I was told it was going to be anywhere between 2 to 3 months to get the parts to replace the tacho. So I just went on to eBay, bought another tacho with the Hall effect sensor and all that, and still to find out that it probably wasn't the tacho that was the issue. It was the voltage supply going to the tacho and Hall effect sensor. So other issues, and we did end up coming to an agreement. They offered me a fairly substantial partial refund, just for all the problems that I've been having. Ultimately, I had to threaten them with going to Fair Trade Commission, and also to send it back because I didn't want it. And I told them straight out, didn't want it, want my money back. Even while it was still sitting on the packing crate, where I just lifted the lid off and it was still bolted to the packing crate, I said, it'll take me 5 minutes to get it back together. I want someone to come and pick it up. And they, as I said, they a lot of backwards and forwards conversation, and ultimately they did offer me a fairly substantial partial refund, to which I just got to the point where I'm sick of you people, I don't want to talk to you anymore, I'm done. Alright, just give me the refund, I'll try and work with what I've got. So we were now at the point of building the base and mounting it and trying it out. As I said, I've been playing around with it for a good couple of hours, different materials, different cutting tips, that sort of thing, and it's just, I'm just not happy with it. So as I said, I'll take a few photos of it, throw it up on Facebook, and I'll probably go to Hare and Forbes and pick up another lathe which is the same brand as the mill. Using the mill earlier today, it was so much better to use. A bit like just visually, the build quality is a lot better, but just to use it, there's a lot more. You can feel that the build quality is a lot better. The tolerances on the bed are a lot tighter. Speed control and all that is a lot better. Plus, it doesn't squeal when I'm using it, which is definitely a bonus. So that's my review of this Vivor lathe. I wouldn't even call it a lathe, I'd just call it an absolute waste of time. Thanks for watching.